Hello everybody, Twilight Community Group, Studio 10, Nicholas Lesniak. I'm joined by Suzanna Kavanagh from Leargas. How are you, Suzanne?
I'm good, how are you?
I'm great.
Good.
So Suzanne, first question, could you tell us, what is Erasmus Plus?
Wow, that's a very loaded question.
Yeah.
So Erasmus Plus basically is a programme from the European Commission, and it supports the mobility of people, young people, learners, teachers, facilitators, trainers, and basically it's about exchanging. So it's exchanging culture, knowledge, a developing understanding of different cultures and understanding, tolerance, and promoting the EU values, I suppose, of human rights, democracy, and all that kind of nice stuff. And so the way to do that then is by providing grants to exchange, so to travel and to meet other people from other countries, to discuss different topics, how it affects you, how it affects the people you work with, how you manage to address that in the work that you do in your community and things like that. So that's basically what Erasmus Plus is about. And then everything underneath that gets very complicated and a bit layered, but that's fundamentally what it's about.
Yeah. And who can participate in the programme?
So the programme has different headings. So you have youth. So that is for young people, for youth workers, for people that work with young people, for communities that are connected to young people. Then you have schools, so teachers and pupils. Then adult ed and vet, which is further education, and those trainers, those facilitators, those tutors and those students can participate. And then we have a new strand called sport. So Erasmus Plus Sport then is open to the coaches of actually any age and any sport, but it's a grassroots sport, and it's about exchanging and mobilising those coaches. So lots of people can participate. Yeah.
Great. What types of activities can be funded by Erasmus Plus?
So under each heading, so under youth, under schools, under adult ed, under sport, they're divided into what we call key actions. So key actions then are activities basically, and those activities then can be very short and very impactful. So they can be where a person doesn't even leave their community, but they engage with policy or policy makers or their community. To then travelling then across, exchanging across the different countries. So they travel to the place that their partner is, and they meet their partners, and they would discuss topics, or the young people might discuss topics, and if it was youth, to then kind of more strategic activities. So the strategic sense part of it then is more kind of like, well, what are you doing and how do I learn from you, and then how do I share my practice, or could we be doing something better? Yeah. So that's the kind of the strategic part, and then there's the participation bit, and that's about getting young people to participate and to kind of, understand how their what their role is in terms of active citizenship. So and it could be like, participation as a very small P, or participation as a very big P. So that's really what they can do.
And Suzanne, now that we know what the programme is about and who can take part in the programme, how can we apply for Erasmus Plus? Yeah,
so the Erasmus Plus then, what happens is we've called, and that means that we have an available amount of money, and we then would put out application forms for people to apply to us as the national agency, and we would then assess those applications against then the criteria of the programme. So if they're linked to things like inclusion, participation, active citizenship, and any of those things that we talked about, and tolerance and exchange and stuff like that. So that's the kind of criteria you're looking at, and that is all available in the programme guide. The dates for those calls are as well. They're available on our websites as well, and we try and get them out as much as possible in terms of in advance as much as possible. So we would know at the beginning of every year when the calls are going to come out. We'll publish that on our website, and also then we'd make the programme guide available.
And if I want to apply, should I pay any fees?
No, it shouldn't cost you anything. So there is a kind of thing where it's a non-profit. Obviously, you don't make profit out of it, and we accept that the grant won't cover everything. So what I mean about that is the time that you take to write the application and things like your electricity and your Wi-Fi and stuff like that is probably covered by you. The rest of the grant then is covered, and it has budget headings that would cover some of those activities in it, like your travel, your subsistence and stuff like that.
And where can we learn about the Erasmus Plus activities?
So for young people?
Yeah.
So the European Youth Portal is where all of the information is around all of the programmes. There's also, I find, a very useful website called Eurodesk. And the Eurodesk has all of the opportunities, not just in Erasmus Plus, but also what's available in the Commission and in terms of internships and apprenticeships and stuff like that. So that's another great website that you can access. We ourselves then, Leargas is the national agency, and we manage lots of that European funding, and you can visit our website and you would get some information there. We also have information sessions that we would have online. These are 2-hour sessions that you would attend. You'd find out all the information, what is it that we are looking for and how do we apply, and they're kind of a great way in as well, to get to before you fill any application form in, and then they also have another thing that is a training, and it's an international training. So topics and themes that you're interested in are we would provide training for that, and the idea is you learn a new skill, or you're more aware, or you develop another competence, but you also meet potential partners, and you then would have a potential project, and that's called a transnational cooperation activity, and you would get that on the Salto website.
Great. And could you tell us, what is the free Discover EU travel pass?
Yeah, so the Discover EU is for anyone that's 18 in that year to apply, and it's like a lottery, so you apply. And it's actually very healthy from Ireland, I have to say. We've gotten good applications and a good number of them heading off. And basically you have a train ticket to travel around Europe. Because we live in an island, you've got to fly there. That's covered as well, which is great. So you can travel for up to 30 days, and you can travel that consecutively, or you can take a break and travel, but up to 30 days.
Yeah, and another programme is the European Social Fund. What is in it? Who can apply for it?
You wouldn't necessarily apply for that grant. It comes down through different programmes and different departments into providers of services and supports, basically. So you would have the benefit of it, because things like say they were on a course and the fees were negated because they got ESF funding. Do you know that kind of way? So you would have the benefit of it, but you wouldn't necessarily apply for ESF funding.
And what kind of projects does the ESF support?
Things like those further education institutions, so any of the like ETBs, those kind of educator institutions rather than individuals.
Great. And what is the Youth Employment Initiative? Yeah,
so the Youth Employment Initiative, or the Youth Guarantee Scheme, is a scheme for young people between 18 and 30, and basically what it is that it's a guarantee that a young person who is out of work or not in education will receive an offer of either some kind of training or some kind of job or some kind of apprenticeship or something anyway within 4 months of engagement with the social protection. Yeah. So if a young person finds themselves coming out of school, or they've lost a job, that's the guarantee from the government.
And how does the programme support youth employment?
So the idea then is so if you are a young person and you have more than 6 months of being unemployed, you're then a long-term unemployed person. That is it can get longer and longer, and if it gets longer and longer, the chances of you returning or engaging into the labour market becomes more and more difficult. So the idea is once young people are given that offer within the 4 months, that they're then engaged in employment or training to employment. And so that's how then it supports then youth unemployment. And again, it's across Europe, it's been quite successful, do you know?
Yeah. And who is eligible for the funding of this particular programme?
The 18 to 30s.
18 to 30s.
Yeah.
Great.
So yeah, if any young person finds themselves without a job or without or out of school or education, then they would attend their Department of Social Protection office, and then they would engage in the Youth Guarantee Scheme.
What is EURES and what its main purpose?
Yeah, so EURES, so I don't work on these programmes.
Yes.
Leargas is the National Agency for the Erasmus Plus, but for EURES it's basically a network of European employment opportunities, and it's EURES then supports those people to mobilise to other countries to find work or to start their job. So there's a EURES officer who then would work within the network, who would advertise jobs in Ireland and advertise jobs then from other countries. They then would support those people. Then actually it's not just young people for EURES, it's any age, and then would support those people to find the job, set themselves up. They get some starting up money to move and to settle in. They also would have things like in the preparation before they go, things like what kind of amenities or facilities it would be there, so things like accommodation, schools if you had children, the hospitals, the medical, all that kind of stuff. So that's what EURES is.
And who can benefit most from using EURES?
Well, I suppose like if you have a specialised or a skill or something that you can offer, say in countries that wouldn't have jobs available in that area, you would have then the support of those grants and that support of somebody that be able to set you up in that country. And if you or also if you're a young person and you're considering working abroad, it is an amazing support, because they have all of that information, and their job is to actually kind of support you in your transition,
Yeah, and can EURES provide financial support to job seekers who are looking to move to another EU nation?
No. What they do is they would give you support when you're doing it and to set you up, but not in the process of looking.
And how can job seekers and employers access EURES services?
Yeah, so the EURES officer then would reach out to the employers, so they'd have different networks to do that. So you'd have the different like IBEC and stuff like that. So they would gather that information, because they obviously need to get their the Irish context. Then they'd also reach out to the network of other EURES officers across Europe, and they get all of their jobs. So that sits then in that platform, and there's a platform of those. And then also then if there's also so sometimes an employer who's looking for a specialised skill or qualification would approach the EURES and say, look, can you put that up and let's see who comes from Europe, and vice versa. And then for then young people themselves or whatever, they can contact their local Department of Social Protection office, who then would then refer them then to the EURES officer.
Great. And is EURES only for EU citizens, or can non-EU citizens?
No, just the member states.
Okay. And what is the European Solidarity Corps?
Well, the European Solidarity Corps is my baby, so I know lots about that. No, I'm responsible for that in Ireland. And so the European Solidarity Corps came from an older programme called the European Voluntary Service, and that ran very successfully for 25 years. And the idea of that programme was that young people would go and volunteer, and that they would develop and grow. They would assist in what organisations are doing in other countries. They would develop their own skills and competencies, and they would return back to their country, Ireland in this example, with more confidence and an understanding of what's happening in another country.
Yeah.
So the idea then of the Solidarity Corps then, which is not a great name because it doesn't tell you what it is, but the solidarity piece actually is all of that lovely stuff. So all the stuff that happens to young people when they travel and they volunteer, and that growth and that development. But actually, the solidarity piece is that they've connected with a community. And they've connected with people in that community, they've connected with the issues, they've actually contributed to addressing those issues in the community, and the impact of that they've contributed to. So the idea then is actually that it's more than just what happens to the individual, it's actually thinking about what happens in the community. And that then the young people come back then and they've developed their empathy. And so then that contributes to them wanting a better community for themselves. And then ideally then you would have then a much better society, because you have much more empathic people, more tolerant, more understanding of diversity and all that kind of stuff. So that's the idea of the Solidarity Corps.
And how can young people apply for the Solidarity Corps?
Yeah, so there's a website that they can apply for through the European Youth Portal again, and in that they would set out who they are, what they'd like to do, where they want to go, and when they're available.
Yeah.
And they would then, I call it the Tinder of the Solidarity Corps, because they're matched then with organisations all over Europe that would be able to provide then what they're looking for in terms of interest and areas of what they want to do and stuff like that. Yeah.
Great. Thank you very much for coming, Suzanne.
No problem.
I was joined by Suzanna Kavanagh from Leargas, Nicola Lesniak, Twilight Community Group Studio 10. Thank you very much for watching.